Welcome back to the Creation Station, everybody. This is a very quick and impromptu, unedited video, so maybe you'll hear me sneezing because it's allergy season in Pasadena, California. But this had to be out. You guys have to see this. This is the brand new version 3 by Audio Modeling, the Swam Cello. We're going to literally explore it together. So what I'm going to do, like in most of my posts, you're going to see that this track is now on record. You can see in the left, this is my foot pedal, controller 11, right over here. See this? Below that, you can see that there's modulation wheel being tracked. So this entire performance, from beginning to end, can be downloaded for members of my channel, so you can study it. You can't release it as original material that you created, but it is there for studying purposes to see how you can apply controllers in order to get these plugins to sound the most natural. All right, so the new interface, let me just open it up here, is nice and clear looking. Let's look at the basic sound as it comes up. So here we go. And let's see, here we go, top. Okay, right off the bat, I noticed, first of all, the sound is great. It sounds similar to what the old version sounded like, my version 1 that I had. I had never went to version 2, but what this seems to be is it has a bunch of less resonances. The direct sound is really beautiful, very expressive, but here right up the top is one little drawback, and I do not know if this can be turned off. So I will inquire with Audio Modeling if this can be turned off, or there could be a setting adjusted in the future that when you release the string like this, look. Do you notice that in the release there's vibrato? Now that's the first thing that you want to take away, because obviously now every time when I end a note I have to draw the modulation wheel back down at the end of the note so as to not have the vibrato on the ringing sound, because that's not natural. You know, rarely will the player hold a string in vibrato when they end the stro and the instrument just basically rings out. You know, they would stop doing the vibrato. That doesn't make any sense, you know, or at least it should be made an option, because the application for this should be a rarity. So that's the first thing. Same here. And you notice, of course, they did it right on the C string over here, which has no vibrato at all. Because that's the open string, that's the lowest note, that can't have a vibrato. But at least we should have the option of having all the empty strings have no vibrato possibility, which they don't. So the empty strings, let's look through them. C. Beautiful, beautiful ringing out of the instrument. There's the vibrato, and it shouldn't be there. Okay, that should just turn off automatically the moment you raise your finger from the keyboard. You know, these were the 4 open strings of the cello. Okay, that's a minor gripe. Obviously, what we can do now, if I want to use maybe like an arpeggio downward and end on the low E, let's do this. So as you can see, I have to very quickly draw back the modulation wheel to 0. That's just also, by the way, not fast enough. The modulation wheel is not a very fast controller. Breath controller is much faster. All right, that's the first observation I'm having. Timbre, that would be the next thing I would like to see here. Timbre, let's see what the options are. So we got resin here. Whatever this is, I hear barely a difference, but it sounds good. Whatever it is, it sounds really good. Let's take a little bit of it off to go to the extreme. by the way, what I like about how the vibrato is engineered is that obviously there's a certain delay time before it kicks in. Here we go. You see when I strike this note? Short moment where the vibrato waits till it really comes in, and that's natural. There should also be a way to, by the way, edit that. Where would we find that? Let's take a look here under vibrato, pitch bend, vibrato. Okay. That vibrato is just reflecting, the readout over here is just reflecting what the modulation wheel moves that I'm making down here, so that's correct. But I don't see an option to adjust the delay, how long it waits to go from non-vibrato to vibrato. You know, sorry for speaking kind of slow and interrupted here, because I'm getting my bearings here as we explore this together. So, all right, so what else? Bow and pitch position, that's interesting. Let's try that out for a moment. I'll go back to timbre in a second. That's dramatic. That's a gigantic improvement to have a bow position alterable like fluently like this. That is really awesome, because that should be on its own hardware controller, like you know, like a little nano control, like this little guy over here. You know, that's where, you know, we should just take one knob and be able to record the bow position, because sometimes you want this super warm, low sound that's close when you play, you have the bow close to the fretboard. That's really beautiful. And I did not see that on the old version. Maybe I missed it. Let's check out the legato. Legato feels a little different than it used to feel. Okay, I played the note very, very softly, the second note. Let me do... It reacts just like the old vibrato, but it's very good. Very expressive. That bow position stuff is awesome. All right, monostring crossing. I have to learn a lot more about this. Polyphony, monostring crossing. Okay, good. There's a whole lot of things that I need to learn. Let's go back to timbre. So we work, right now I'm playing it with 0 rosin, and I'm just going to bring it up. Okay, there's a little bit of swish, more noise on it now. Very sweet. Well, I'm getting used to dialing back the modulation wheel now at the end of the note. Bow noise. Let's try that. These are very large moves that I'm doing. It should show a bit more of a reaction. Go back to the main position and medium bow position. Let's go back to timbre and look at, so we tried rosin, very subtle, bow noise, also subtle, pizzicato tone. I'm far less interested in that right now. I think the cello is in action, you know, with a bow, with the arco stuff. That's really what's important right now. Let's try out sordino. Here's sordino. Okay, let me turn it off. Let me do it again. trying to determine if that sounds like there's just treble rolled off or if that's really a different sample. I cannot tell. Let me take a look here. There must be a difference. That difference I could also make with an EQ. Let's take a look if in the upper register it's the same thing, if there's different samples or different modelings being used. To me that sounds there's just a filter on it. That's what it sounds like. I can't really say that that's a significant difference, because you can tell clearly when you go from sordino and back and forth to non-sordino here that also the attack of the string changes, and that isn't really the purpose of sordino. Sordino should change the character of the sound but not the bone noises. You know, that doesn't necessarily change with sordino. The body sound of the instrument should change. So that's interesting. It could still be useful, you know, because it saves me from having to turn treble down if you want to mellow a sound. So maybe worthwhile. Expressivity, what do we got here? Aha, expression 92, interesting. Vibrato depth, okay, very important. Oh, does it mean I can raise that here? No, I can't. Oh, that's interesting. Since this is linked to the modulation wheel, I can only bring it from 0 or 0.1 to 104. It doesn't let me go further, but I can bring it up here with the slider to 120. Haven't figured out how to make sure that that range becomes available on the modulation wheel. And the question is, do we even need it? Let's take a look. Yep, I would like to have it available. That is a very expressive vibrato. And so right now my modulation wheel only takes me to 104. So got to figure out if there's a control for that. Next, expressivity, bow pressure. Aha, that's very important. Let's take a look. Can we automize this? How can we automize bow pressure? So it doesn't work to control click or left click or right click on any of these controls. They cannot be automized on the interface like this, at least not here in Pro Tools. Geez. What can we do there? But let's listen to how it sounds, okay? We'll listen to how the bow pressure parameter reacts. Okay, it starts sawing heavily, so that's pretty cool. Whoa, I've never heard that coming from a plugin. There's been a lot of work going on under the hood of Cello version 3 here from Swam, no doubt. So that is really valuable to have, because if I want to go like Pablo Casal's strength on a cello passage, I might want to play with this. So that should also be automizable. I'll get to probably in a follow-up video as to how the automization of that works. This is just an overview. And so far what I can tell you, except a little gripe with the notes ringing out with vibrato, I am very, very thrilled. Bow pressure accent on the accent. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so this must control if I play a note accented and what the bow pressure is on that particular note would be. Let me try. So if I bring that down, Yep, on the accent, it definitely makes a change there. That's worthwhile. Don't know if I need to automate that. Very, very good. So expression is available 100%. You can see my volume pedal here, controller 11. Goes all the way from 002, which is practically nothing, to full-blown my 0.98. Vibrato depth. I still have to figure out how to get this to go all the way to whatever this is, 1.20, right? All right, go back out of expressivity. Velocity, okay, good expression. Dynamic envelope. Pan pot, very helpful, very important. Ah, there's that vibrato, okay, good. One second, go back to timbre, switch off Sordino, because I like the full range of what's available here. Okay, pitch, what's the deal with pitch? Master tune, pitch bend up, pitch bend down, that makes a lot of sense. Transpose button, nothing sensational and new here. Pitch bend up and down, very important. We got to do that. But let's see if it's a chipmunk effect or not. Okay, I'm going to take a look. Very good, no chipmunk effect at all. Let me take five half steps. Oh, well, not just 5.5, 5.0 here. That is exemplary pitch bending, because it doesn't sound like it's all of a sudden going chipmunk-wise, or same thing when we go down. Let's double check on that. 5 steps down. Practically creates the same note as if I were to play the G over here, or pitch bending the C down to G. Yep, that is exemplary. Very, very good. I would leave that as at 2, just for a whole step. Excellent. Advanced. What's the deal with advanced? Okay, here we've got a couple of other parameters to work. This is the type of cello that it is. This is a Roma cello. Let's take a look what the difference is in sound. Roma, just without, let's see. Okay, Roma version 3. That reminds me of the old software, very strong. It's just a little more, what's the word? It's a little less clear. This new one seems to have a little bit more definition, a little more bite. Cremona. Firenze, Florence. My heavens, that's incredible. That is really good. Firenze, I'm going to have to save that as a little preset. Version 3, Swam Cello 3, Firenze, Stephan 01, my first favorite. Okay, what about, is there any reverb in here? Let's take a look at what we have. What's that? Save and load, reset, controller mapping. Controller mapping. Okay, parameter lock. Import, preset sound engine MIDI mapping. Oh, you can even import sound engines? Whoa. Export, preset, you can export sound engines. Settings, audio, MIDI, window size, account, and about. Settings, audio. Take a look here. Options, window size, account, license, about. Okay, options. Enable scroll wheel for horizontal sliders, account license, about. Okay. Nothing sensational here, but everything that should be there. Very good. Well, so far, folks, I think it's a slam dunk. Just no doubt, it leaves the previous version in the dust. I can't draw a strong comparison between version 2 and version 3 because I skipped it, but from version 1, that is hands down a winner. All right, let's keep looking. I'm looking for if there's any form of audio processing in here, such as reverb. I do not see that. Play modes, here in the play mode tab, left hand, right hand, interesting. Polyphony. There's a whole bunch of options for polyphony. That's going to require a whole nother video. We're going to get to that. Pizzicato poly, double hold string sections. So it can do double stops. It can do all of that. So anything else? Let's say down bow. I'm looking for effects. Aha. Effects. Here we go. What do we have? Early reflection gain. Now it gets interesting. So. Okay, let's take a look. I am impressed. That really felt like the cello moved back into the corner. This is a little much. Let me take back a little bit. Let's take also a look if this by any chance does what some of the other plugins do. When you pan the instrument to the right, the reverb goes off to the right. We don't want that. We want the reverb to be in the stereo panorama, just the instrument over there, and the reflection in that side of the room goes stronger. So let's take a look. Can we extremely to the right? Do we still have stereo reverb? Now. Let's test it out a little deeper here. First of all, I should take reverb mix down. Reverb time, let's come up to... Okay, this is focused on short reverbs as it is, just to create environment, like in early reflections and mid-size reflections around the instrument. This is really crucial. Yep, the early reflections are extremely tight. What's this here? There's an EQ for the effects. Okay, that's all nice and dandy. Reverb mix. Okay, let me now bring in the main reverb. But before I do that, I want to double check really quick if this effect indeed lasts when I pan. Well, I have to tell you this, the early reflections do not make a difference if I pan hard left, hard right. So we're losing the efficacy of early reflections when panned extremely. That's what it sounds like to me. Yet, you know, if I keep the cello where I usually keep it, which would be slight right or on the orchestral setting further to the right, that's where I often have it, unless it's a solo cello piece, it's still useful to have them, no doubt. All right, let me turn those off, turn the reverb mix on, and see what that sounds like. Ah, like those. I cannot wait for an update where that auto reverb, auto vibrato on the release notes is gone. But reverb usable. Let me turn the reflections, add them in. I think they're helpful. Yeah, it's beautiful. I could even lose a little early reflections, a little reverb mix. Reverb time, max it out, 0.7. It's not that long, but Also an improvement over the old plugin. Yes, a gigantic improvement. Really useful. Improving the reverb and the ambience around the cello is so important. I cannot stress this enough, because the plugins almost always sound kind of like in your face and mono and without any expression. So that's a sound I want to avoid at all cost. It has to sound like there's a beautiful wooden room around that cello. And that's why I often just run it 100% through Altiverb, use the positioner, and then work with a mix knob so that I got exactly the right distance, and there's air, like air of a wood room around the instrument. That's really, really important. And this brings us one step closer, these controls. That brings us closer to that. I think I would always have those on. And maybe in some cases, it would be nice to have those as a separate output to commit the reverb separately from the naked signal. But that's just my wish list. That's not essential. So that's the first look at Swam 3.0. Thank God we got the effects. There's an EQ in here. As a matter of fact, let's check the EQ, because I'm not sure if that's an EQ for the effects or for the instrument itself. If it's for the instrument, let's check it out. It's for the instrument itself. I'm going to turn reverb off completely, or actually, I can do this with a reverb mix. But I have to turn reflection on. That sound is really emotional. It's responsive. It just gives me something back right away. It does not let me work so hard and forces me to wrestle it to the ground like some products from other companies. This is really rewarding. Checking out the EQ. It seems centered around 100, but it brings up a lot of 250 too. I wish I wouldn't have the 250 pushed in. So what I will do is I'm going to take the 250 out. Not liking what I'm hearing so far. The naked sound, the way it was great. It's perfectly EQ'd. Although there's a ring right here. Obviously that is, let's see, it's right between, almost between a 110 and 220, so it's almost in the middle of that. I want to say that's about 280 or something like that. So the EQ doesn't reach low. Actually it does, yes. It reaches low enough, but it's not narrow enough. I'm going to adjust the mid gain. Yep, that's a frequency where it's just a little neurotic, but it may be better to use a dynamic EQ behind the equalizer, something like the FabFilter M3. That might be something nice, just to take that nasal compression of 250 to 280 out of the plugin. So what about high gain? Let's take a look. Helpful. Definitely. I would use them a little bit, although I tend to do surgical EQ often behind the plugin, and I would do that with a multi-band EQ. Still, having it on board is helpful. Let me just say this to conclude. Congratulations, Audio Modeling, to a fantastic update to your solo instrument line, the solo string line. It's fantastic. It's more responsive than it was before, and I thought it wasn't possible to beat the Gofriller, which is still my old favorite from 12 or 14 years back. This is a worthy replacement, and it takes it far further. And I've only touched the very tip of the iceberg. So if you like this video, found it helpful, guys, please give this video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, because that way also your YouTube splash screen fills up with more things that you really care about. And in the next videos, I'm going to touch on the viola next, then the violin, and then the double bass. Then we have the whole chamber quartet together. And I can try to make a little composition to see how natural we can get this all to sound. It's really evident that with all these instruments, even with the reverbs that they have built in, we need a sound stage. So there needs to be like some really natural sounding convolution reverb to just gather all the instruments and bundle them into one room so that they really sound natural. Because obviously my goal is to enable you and all the orchestrators who sign onto this channel here to find the most realism and ease of use for the plugins that you work with. So it is fantastic. I'm going to tell one of my students now to get this package. It is absolutely incredible. I bought it. It's not that expensive. And the CPU load is manageable. And the plugins are small. It's like less than 70 megabytes when you download them. That's really astounding. So once again, please subscribe to the channel and look at the other videos. There's one particular one I'm going to mention somewhere over there in this corner called How to Make the Cello. That gives a detailed overview of how to make an instrument like this most expressive and most believable and just be a joy to play with and orchestrate to. What else? That's all I got. That's Stephan Oberhoff signing out from the Creation Station. Stay creative, stay healthy, and inspired. God bless, and see you in the next video.